Good morning. This is Dr. Brad of Your Health Reclaimed, where we discover the root causes of all of the things that build chronic illness. And today we're going to have another very interesting guest who has a very interesting view on how to rebuild health. She's a nature lover, and I've spent my early childhood in the woods. Most of my life, I've spent a lot of time in the woods. I've been around a lot of animals that she is too. So I think this could be a lot of fun. So why don't you introduce yourself, Betsy?
Yeah, I'm Betsy Kudlinski. I started life working with animals, and I've got 35 years working professionally with animals under my belt, from pets and zoo animals to lots of horses and farm animals. And then I got training as a life coach, and then I got training as a trauma recovery coach through somatic experiencing. So it's using the body. And so now I work with individuals and groups working with trauma and the nervous system.
Interesting. You don't know this. I used to raise horses, train
Did you?
horses. I coached all of the competitive gamers in the county we used to live in for a long time. Small, poor county, but I've raced everything I've touched since I was very, very young. We had the most competitive gamers in the state in that
Oh,
small little county.
fun.
Trained 4 horses. My youngest daughter was our fastest gamer. She was unbeatable at 13. Her horse was bridleless. We've had 4 bridleless horses. People wonder how in the world you do that. My reining, it was just that.
Awesome.
My youngest daughter at 13, there's a game called Keyhole where
Hmm.
you go through a 12-foot slot, 4 foot wide, go into as fast as you can, spin around, come back out, and go home. She'd come in at 13, she'd come into that slot, she'd plant her seat with a 6-inch sag in the reins. Her horse would plant her rear feet. She'd slide through that slot, lift her front feet, and she'd slide through on 2 planted rear feet. She'd go through. My daughter just take the reins and just do that. That's all you needed to do. She'd spin 180. If that pole was too close, she'd drop her nose to clear it. As soon as she saw daylight, she just threw dirt. Um, One last game she had, if you did that, I think it was 8 seconds for keyhole, you'd win at any state level as far as that goes. I think the last year that she did gaming, went through two horses before they call a new winner 8 seconds flat.
Wow.
The next one goes in, the one before my daughter, they call a new winner. She broke 8 seconds. As we're going up the ramp, the guy that's doing the gate, he knew my daughter. She was known all over the place. As she's coming up the ramp and they're around some new winner, he looks at her and goes, "Not for long." She goes, "Yep." She gets in the arena. She kept a bat with her because her horse got a little bit squirrely to take off. And as soon as she got her pointed to take off, she dropped it.
Hmm.
She's got no whips, no bat, no spurs. She's just sitting on the back of this horse like she's Velcroed on it. She comes into that slot in the keyhole with a 6-inch sag in her reins. Horse plants her rear feet, slides through on 2 feet, spins around, drops her nose, daylight, and I'm watching my daughter as she's coming back home toward the finish line with the weirdest look on her face. And I can't figure out what she's doing. But she was watching the clock. The horse knew where she was going. And the horse is just flying, absolutely flying. As she comes into the and the horse just plants her feet and slides through, you hear everybody sucking wind in the arena because they'd never seen anything like this. This is a young girl, No, not doing anything anybody else does. She's so quiet on this horse. You can tell these two have spent a lot of time together. And with these subtle movements, you can't even see what they're doing. And this horse is doing all this intricate stuff. And I see her hand go up as they announce the new winner. She got like a 7-6.
Oh, wow.
That's how she was from actually probably 11 or 12 years old on up. And that's how I trained animals. She was my backup trainer. She couldn't start a horse, but she could finish them. And we spent a lot of time together, really a lot of fun. I figured you would love a story like that because
Yeah.
it's one thing to train animals. It's another one to become connected with them
Yeah.
and do it so subtly that nobody even knows you're doing anything.
Yeah. And there's a full communication going on between you and the animal. Just because people can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening.
Yeah, and to teach young people how to do that, the confidence that built, and the young people I spent time coaching, their parents didn't spend time with them, other people didn't spend time with them. I did, and I never got anything from it. Occasionally a thank you, but most people didn't know what I was doing.
Hmm.
Uh, I was, we would work on things that would gain them a hundredth of a second. Most people are working on big chunks of time. Ours, we're so refined. We're working on things that are 100th here, 200ths here, 3 or 400ths there to refine stuff. And the thing that amazed me the most is I had a lot of ministry friends who just on my case saying, "What are you always spending time with all this youth for? Doing horses. You need to be out traveling around doing ministry." Later in life, they're complaining to me because they can't get their children out of their home. No one leaves. All my kids graduated from high school at 16 with an AA in college degree, 2-year college degree, and they went off to college and did other things. They all got married early and they're having families. They just didn't understand. I was pouring value into people. Everybody I poured value in, their self-confidence, self-worth, it just rose to the top. And they weren't the bait that others are for all the society's insanity because they had confidence, because somebody believed in them enough to help them achieve their own life goals.
That's invaluable.
Yeah, yeah. I figured you'd love that.
Reminded of the ACEs study, adverse childhood experiences study. That's the blanking on where it started. Kaiser came up with it. And even if there's challenges for children in their household, if there is somebody, an adult somebody who cares and can be there for them, it can create a lot of resilience. I don't want to say it can like overcome everything, but it can help counteract a lot of the hard stuff that kids can go through. And so
Yeah,
I was just thinking that.
I just took that test about 2 days ago. I did a podcast with somebody who uses that, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. I should check that out. I grew up in just an extremely over the top, abusive, dysfunctional home. Just extremely. Lord got a hold of me at a young age. He just made me somebody I never met. And since I was talking to this lady, 30 years of prison ministry, and my background was worse than all the inmates I met in 30 years of prison ministry. So that's puts in a relative perspective. Don't need to talk about the details. So I decided to take the test,
Uh-huh.
and you can't get the results without plugging in, giving your email, and paying them something, which ends up a double charge for that, and that clicks them into their stuff. They had
Of course.
nothing to say to me. They had no value. They had no program. They had nothing to say. The Lord dealt with, had me deal with all those issues a long, long, long time ago. And then that was yesterday's history, but I don't live there.
I love that. Mm-hmm.
I was surprised. There's just nothing to say, which there should have been a ton. But Lord had had me deal with it in His way, and it's beautiful. Which that's what you use animals for, isn't it?
Yeah, I actually, at this point, I work with humans, but the way that I talk about it is I work with the animals that don't think they're animals. Because we have nervous systems, our bodies know how to do the things that wild animals do and to take care of ourselves. But our culture, our society has put limits and makes us override, in our upbringings, right? The people around us makes us override what our body knows to do to stay healthy and balanced. And if we don't have the support and if we are constantly taught by people or culture or society or everything how to override what our body knows to do, the animal in our body, right, our nervous system, then then we don't do it, and we end up with all the different problems. Usually, when we get older, a lot of us when we're younger. But so my background in animals has helped me to read the human animal.
Yeah. Something that's interesting working with animals. I've worked with them all my life too.
Mhm.
Training dogs when I was a really young age, and that's what I was around. And once I learned horse herd dynamics, I guess is the right way to put it,
Yes, yes.
then I tapped into how to train them through very, very subtle cues to do whatever you wanted them to do. And it's interesting looking at something like a horse. Most people have a very dysfunctional attitude toward them and they think they can treat them like children. And that's dangerous. It's really dangerous. You're flipping that completely on its head and you're bringing us into the reality. We may be the top of the animal kingdom. We're still animals.
Yes, we are.
And our biological functions are all animal. Our reproductive functions are all animals. You look at all of our systems, we're animals. We may be the highest, but we still are. And we can't deal with any aspect of humanity
No.
if we ignore that, can we?
No. The other thing that I like to say is that we we like to pretend that we are a prefrontal cortex running a meat robot. Like as
Wow.
if our body will just do whatever our brain says. Oops, we need to eat these different things and this many calories and we need to spend this and this amount of work and we need to sleep and this is how we sleep, right? Instead, our bodies know what to do, and if we stop with the separating our mind from our body, that's why I call my work renaturing. Is it's just like bringing it all back together again. Because our animal is in there, and if we respect the fact that we are animals, and however long we've been around, right? However long animals have been around, however long we've been around, our bodies are made to do these things right. And I mean, yeah, there's always challenges, but it's and you were talking about horses and trying to dominate horses and treat them like children. And they know they're animals, and we're the ones that go around pretending like we're not. And if we relate to them with the same respect, understanding that they're probably in a lot of ways more adult, more mature than we are, works pretty good.
Well, they have different views of things. They're a herd animal. Their safety is in a herd.
But
There's
so are
some.
we. Not a herd, but like a tribe or a community. We're
Mhm.
supposed to be a social animal just as much as horses or wolves or a pride of lions. We are supposed to be together. This individualist thinking that we can make it alone or even just with a nuclear family, that's not how humans, I mean, look at chimpanzees and bonobos and gorillas. Like we're supposed to be together just like horses. And that's one of the things. Like I have a ton of experience working with herds of horses, herds of goats, herds of sheep, herds of pigs and cows and, chickens. But I bring that understanding of herds to how we work too. And I just think it's fascinating. We need each other. Of course we don't feel safe. We don't have somebody watching our back all the time.
It's interesting when you look at herds. This is an interesting example how that is, because the herd in nature is extended family.
Yeah.
And most people don't understand that. Like you take a deer, it's pretty common for them to drop more than one fawn. You know, a bad winter they'll drop one, a good winter they'll drop three, maybe four. It's huge to see what that is. The 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 doe fawns stay with the mom for a long period of time. Like a white-tailed deer, that's where you live. It's where I live. It's in a lot of different places. Well, I grew up with black-tailed deer. They're more range farther. And mule deer, they have this huge range. It's common for them to go 14 miles from where they sleep to water to a feeding ground. And they'll do that a couple times a day. So it's really interesting. But a deer will have their fawns, they drop their fawns. Those fawns will stay with her through to the next breeding season. The buck fawns get chased off by the breeding dominant buck in that area. In the first year, they'll typically come back. The second year, they don't.
Hmm.
But the doe fawns, they stay together really close to mom, and you'll see them, especially in springtime, when they come out of their wintering grounds. You see all these does with all these fawns. In a good year, they're going to have at least two or more than that. And you see this herd growing. Most people don't realize that they're all just close family.
Do you know that that's how wolf packs work too? Wolf
Most,
packs are families. We have the research on having an alpha pair with all of the subordinate wolves was done on a wolf pack that was unrelated animals brought together. So it was an artificial situation, but in actuality, natural wolf packs are the same thing. They're a mom and dad, and then family, extended family, and then the male wolves will wander off to find somewhere else to be. But it's the same basic structure. Same with prides of lions.
and herds of elk and
Hmm.
bear. The one that doesn't tend to do that is the cat family.
Right, right. The lions are basically the only ones that aren't individual. Uh, s- um, So I will say that there's more research with mountain lions, pumas, especially in South America, where their population has rebounded, and there's more mountain lions in South America. And it turns out they hang out together, and they aren't quite so solo as all of our research to date has shown. And so it's fascinating to see what, as some populations of animals rebound, what they were actually doing before their population was devastated by us.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I grew up, I spent a lot of time out in the woods. And in my growing up years, I saw 5 mountain lions.
Yeah.
Three of those were all together one early morning when going up the side of a hill. I was doing a paper route, and so I was out early in the morning. And it's like, wow, that's pretty amazing Their
That's
tails are
very
way longer than a dog and they don't move like dogs. They're unmistakable, absolutely unmistakable. You said something else about and if you get in the woods and you watch a deer eat, it's really an interesting thing. They'll go by a bush and they'll pick a few leaves off of that bush and move a step or two and get something off the ground and move a little bit and maybe a fern or two there and then another tree and they'll pull some leaves off of that. They don't eat these monochromatic diets at all.
mm,
What they're doing, they're mixing a food for nutrient diversity, we call that. And we commonly don't do that as
we don't do that as humans, and then the animals that are in our care, we don't allow for that either.
yeah, and that's one of the most hyper-inflammatory, destructive things we can do to health is to have this monochromatic, repetitive diet of just a few different foods.
Yeah, agreed.
Years ago, a nephew of mine came to live with us, ended up living with us for 3 years. And as we're leaving from discussing that, and he's going to fly out and live with us, the dad says, well, he only eats 6 or 7 different things. And he takes a breath to give me the list. And I looked at him and said, that won't last very long. So we pick him up at the airport, go out to a restaurant for dinner, and it's like 20 minutes. He can't figure out what he wants. And I finally said, okay, you're thinking about these 2 things. One of those I was going to order anyway. I had always ordered family style. So we get a bunch of different plates of stuff, get some empty plates, and everybody served off of that, and we get variety and have a lot of fun doing that. And he was all upset about that. That was in September. We commonly went down to Mexico at least once a year in January or February, something around that time. So we went down to Mexico. He went with us. We get off the plane, go across the highway, down the road a little bit to a little cafe. He's the first one to know what he's going to order. And he's going to order octopus tacos. And I just about busted a gut laughing. And nobody else at the table understood what I thought was so funny. That a few months ago, he couldn't decide what he wanted. Had an absolute meltdown because didn't let him order and pick what he wanted. And he only ate 6 or 7 things. And now he's eating like me. Looking at the menu, what have I not tried that's on the menu? I want that. That was
Cool.
huge.
Yeah.
That was just really, really huge. So your view on your therapeutic interaction isn't like a place I remember close to where we used to live. They did horse therapy. Hi, this is Dr. Brad. I'm going to cut in here. We're going to chop this one into 3 different segments. This one got really long. It's really a great conversation. The more we talked, the deeper this one got, and we really started to uncover and unfold and get into some really, really neat topics in here. Tune in for the next one, and we'll continue this conversation.